And you like this style? I'm having good evening, everyone. Good morning. I'm having a hard time finding it. Um, some paintings, probably a few throughout the month, like for the amount that I paint, quite a few paintings a month. there will just be a detachment from it where it doesn't have a lot of energy for me. And so yesterday I mentioned like, okay, I found something in this piece, like there's something here. And then starting it today, that kind of excitement and energy has dissipated a little bit. So the way that I'm trying to work through that is take some of the obvious things that are obvious to me that are just not working or need some adjustments. And to me, I just, I want like a dirty teal, turquoisey background. I wanted like, I guess it does kind of remind me of like a hospital room or something. I'm just seeing if I can see anything yet before I have some ideas for this. Let's actually... Because these are glazes, you want them to work with the layers underneath. That's kind of the whole strategy with these pieces. You want the layers on top to work with the layers underneath. I'm not trying to do anything bold all at once, particularly with the background. Also kind of shocked that this piece like is a slow burn. Like that wasn't my intent. I thought this would come together a lot quicker because I have kind of a layout and a format or a composition. Everything is, there's no real surprises. But it's still, like it speaks to me on a level of like a 5 out of 10. But when I hear you say, oh, I like it, I like this style, that makes me feel good because I'm still going at it and I'm hoping I can like it a 10 out of 10 by the time I'm finished. But I just don't feel that right now. And that's kind of one, I wouldn't call it a secret, but you got to work through that all the time. You always have to work through the fact that you're not attached to it, you're not feeling it. That's part of the process. You got to work through that. Now you can, like, if it becomes agonizing, you can table it, put it on the table. You don't have to, like, the only time you really have to suffer for your work is when you've really dedicated too much time and there's no going back. Oh, God. Or you have timelines, or there's certain, you're trying to accomplish something specific that you really... Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm dying over here. I don't know what happened. I think one thing idea I had is like this is like a possessed Norman Rockwell painting. That was kind of the initial vision I saw in my head, where I just had like this kind of bizarre, or the cover of a like a cryptic crime novel or something, like a fiction, the cover of a book. I wanted that kind of style. Inconspicuous and like, but alluring. Let's see here. Captivating. Yeah, the way that I'm brushing on my paints right now is I'm not distracted, but I'm not certain of anything right now. I don't have that direction. So I'm wondering if I should just get squirrely. I don't know if I have the fight in me for this piece yet. Like, I don't know. So if you've watched this at all for the last 10 minutes or so, you've seen I've kind of gone all the way around, from the background to the chair to the apple to I touched this a little bit. I'm just seeing if I'm actually just really testing to see if I can bring anything to life quickly, or like to see if I can feel anything with the piece. Because if not, I might derail. And I don't even know what that would look like. but I might just abort mission. Because I'm actually working on a few different pieces right now. And so aborting the mission would look like just take this piece in a totally different direction. And then I'm wondering, okay, can you do somewhere in the middle? Maybe not, like, you know, if one side of the spectrum is just to paint over this entire painting, which I'll do maybe once every couple months. I'll be in the middle of a piece and I'll just totally go, I'm out totally. There's nothing I want to keep. There's no ideas. There's no concepts that I want to build on. I am going to completely start over. That does happen. For me, like I said, it's probably a couple times a year. What's more common is I'll be in the middle of a piece, probably to this level. I've nurtured it, I've given it some time, but it just, you know, it just doesn't speak to me for a number of reasons, whether it's the way it just simply looks, the way that I've built it up, like essentially the way that I've constructed it. Sometimes it'll need so much work in order for me to give it a pass that it was, oh, I don't have like, I don't want to put that kind of work in for this piece. I just don't think it's worth it. So then I'll take it into another direction to see, and that burst of like that excitement of destroying it will then give me momentum to, you know, put some work in. Like, okay, I want to take it over here. I'm still not there yet, and these are just the things I'm contemplating. Because as I just tinker, you're witnessing, because you're just watching me tinker right now. And in fairness to me, that's kind of what the painting needs. If you don't want to take it, if you don't want to destroy it, you need to tinker and you need to pick away at it and refine slowly and methodically and patiently. You have to, otherwise, you know, you're going for something else. You're not going for what I set out to do. And if I set out to, the best way I think where I landed is like this crime thriller fiction novel, the cover for that, right? It was kind of this kind of idea, or a possessed Norman Rockwell ripoff. But more of like those old true crime detective novel covers, even comic book style. But to get that, you gotta, it's a slow build up, especially with this glazing. I wouldn't call it technist style, this build up. Looks like a smoky room now. MF Kitty, cheers. Who is spamming the emotes? Hey everyone, how's everyone doing out there? Okay, I need to figure this out now. This was kind of my only attack plan for this morning, was just to kind of refine. Maybe, let's see here. Let's see here. What happens when I do this? Oh, and the other thing that I remember setting out to do, I just really wanted to paint a really good old chair. That was the catalyst for the original concept, and then I just built off of that. But I wanted this old vintage chair in an empty room. I'd say I have like half of that without any details and stuff. So, well, you did that. Yeah, now what? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I used to paint like this a lot, but it was quite a bit more chaotic and full and more aggressive. And I guess I still do that technically, but this one I decided just on a few focal points, like a few characters in the room. It looks a little bit empty on purpose. Keep it that way as much as I can. You can add details, like maybe there's things like up vertically here. But for the most part, it's just, stick with these characters and see if you can make them work. Bit of a challenge, I guess. And I've been painting portraits for so long too. I think this is me trying to have a break from that. If you look here, I don't know if I can. Like, here's my next portrait. Sometimes having multiple pieces actually is quite liberating. It relieves me from any sort of pressure, because with my art, I can put pressure on myself so easily. So I have enough of that, and so if I can alleviate any of that pressure by having multiple pieces on the go, it's only going to make the process more enjoyable, because I'm like, okay, I'm not ready to do what I said earlier. I'm not ready to just take this painting in a totally different direction, but I'm just done for today. And now I'll start working on another piece. that requires a different type of mindset. I'm just seeing if I can, the apple doesn't, to me, doesn't have a nice shape. I am looking at some apple references to see if I can, because I'm honestly just hoping that one of these figure starts to come alive, and that it will carry me to the next figure, to the next part of the painting. That might be wishful thinking. Another thing that alleviates pressure for me, especially with very kind of freewheeling styles, is like, I don't care if this looks proportionate or accurate, but it needs to look good. That's also very liberating and kind of like a nice mental game plan. So these legs to me are just off from the jump, but here I am painting them and like trying to refine them. But I just was telling myself before I opened my mouth, I said, just make it look good, see what happens. Like make it like a finished leg, like fully painted, and then take it from there. So I guess the benefit of this video today is just seeing me struggle to shit. I'm just struggling right now. And it's not that it's not working. I have a fresh brain. I just got up. And it's not even that I don't believe in this idea. It just doesn't have a lot of riz. It's lacking in excitement for me internally. I do have the wherewithal to know that sometimes these pieces really come together. So that's why I haven't abandoned it. I have not abandoned this painting yet, because I don't want to give up yet. I'm not that displeased with it. I just find it really challenging, and it causes me to struggle. So the thing I can do here I should probably look at a reference, but forget it. That just made me feel like a David Lynch kind of surreal vibe happening now. Videodrome for any older heads out there. Remember Blondie was in Videodrome. Do you guys know who Blondie is? Yeah, Deb. No one. Yeah, okay, you're with me. No one, you're with me. I don't know what's going on, no one. I don't know what's happening. I still don't feel it. The apple I feel like should have been finished by now. It's okay. Let me try. Let's see if I can do anything. Can I do anything at all? Or is this just a bust? Let's see. Okay, I got my reference. Comes up over here. The highlights and the peach color. Red is here. You have a little bit of under highlight. There is a pretty stark dramatic line on the outside. Let's keep that for now. Let's make sure you got the little hole that looks like a hole, so you can bring out the stem. But I think what my brain just said, if you can't make the apple look good now, I'm out. This painting, I'm done. Because I'm not, you kind of need like something to work from, anything. Give me anything to work from here. Like, you see how there's no face here? Why? Why isn't there a face here yet? Why isn't her dress finished yet? I don't know. I don't have answers for this. And I keep spinning my wheels. Like, what is happening? I really don't. And I put, like, here's the weird thing is I put some hours into this already. What is going on? So to bring back what I said earlier, you're just watching me struggle in real time. And it causes a bit of a ripple effect. It questions my skill set and my idea. I'm like, it just keeps going over. Like, if there's nothing here, then let it go. If there's nothing here, then let it go. But I'm fighting that, right? And here I am painting, even if there's nothing here. I'm just hoping I feel that sense of like almost, it's not quite euphoria, but I feel I'm anticipating at some point, I feel a sense of okay, because I felt it yesterday. I really did. I'm like, okay, there's something here. I'm glad I spent some time on this yesterday. That was very rewarding, not euphoria. I feel a sense of it's rewarding. And I'm looking for that right now, not for a completed piece or anything, but for a sense of, okay, there's something here again. Let's go. Get excited. You need that excitement to, especially during kind of this spot, this place in the painting, because if there's no excitement now, then how are you gonna have enough gas left in the engine gas in the tank to finish it? If I'm already struggling now, then oh God, how am I gonna finish this? Or then you're just gonna leave it kind of half-baked. And I don't really, that's not typically my MO. A half-baked painting will then lead to what I was talking about earlier. I'll just paint over it. If it's half-baked, forget it. I'm not gonna I don't like that. It doesn't feel good. Okay, I came out a little bit of the struggle. Had a hit of dopamine or something. Apples are always good. They're pretty standard for seeing where you are with your skill set, and they're a good test for I think I've heard some tutorials like indicating, like, you know, painting an apple is, if you can paint an apple, you can paint anything, I think was their logic, which is, I'm not going to argue with that. Okay, I see something here, which is interesting. I'm combining these like ruby reds with like a pale red, skin red. I'm trying to get the right shape here. So like, where does it come out and where does it start tapering in? Let's mix this around, calm it down. The knife in the apple is really important to me. Otherwise, why have an apple if you don't have a knife sticking out of it? I'm kind of dead serious about that. I'm not here to paint apples, my friends. That is not, if you're looking for the apple painters, they're on the next stream. They're on the next stream to your left. So there's like this swoosh here. There's a little bit of an under shadow. There's the direction of your brush right now is kind of important. Like, so you're pulling the lines from the top over here, and it gives you that illusion of shape and depth. Follow the lines. The more details you can get at this point in this layer will be helpful. Because remember, like, I'll let that dry for a bit and then put more layers of glaze on it, right? And then you can start really chiseling, picking away. And even the more different kind of colors of red, as long as they have the right value in the right spot, the tones can you can play with the tones. Give yourself make it your own. Again, at this point I have to say it doesn't have to be proportionate or accurate, but it does have to be good. I'm not sure what's going on here. So that's what I have to tell myself. Like, okay, what's going on? I don't know. Well, then try to make it good here. Last time I was telling you the wishbone, right? So it's not just vertical lines. It's not just like this, and then like this, and then like, no, they're like wishbones. That's always a fun way to get some diverse ripples and folds in the fabric. This mark right here is the first time that I had some sort of inspiration in this last 40 minutes. Sounds crazy. I don't even know if I can explain that. But I just saw something. I don't see anything right now when I'm painting. That is a beautiful kind of luxury of layering, though. I don't really need, like, it's very forgiving. I don't feel like I'm ruining anything. I don't really feel like I'm even adding anything, but by doing this, over time, if I don't abandon it or get lost, it starts to really come together because you're using all the layers. All these layers will start to really merge and fuse together beautifully. And I really like that style. Same with the apple. The apple, I have a bit more of intention right now to kind of get it further ahead than it was. Like, hey, can we have an apple yet? Or that's what I say to myself. Like, can we have an apple or not? So then I'm like, okay, yeah. Like, why isn't it an apple yet? And that's a little bit frustrating. And because it wasn't an apple already, it made me want to kind of give up. Well, if you're not an apple already, how many hours does it take to paint an apple? It should be done already. You're hearing the inner monologue of my brain. I think it's worthwhile to, not even for you, for me to hear myself. Normally this inner monologue goes without being recorded. But it's the struggle that I deal with on a regular basis of, the criticism inside. And then you use it. The criticism's not for nothing. It's not nice, and it's not, but it's very helpful, and it's very important. It's probably one of the greatest tools I have is like, hey, this isn't good. This is garbage. Hey, why aren't you doing this? Why is it this? Because it doesn't stop me in my tracks. I don't just lie in bed and cry because I'm mean to myself. I try to work with that. And then, but like a lot of the times I make a really nice relationship with that critic. Because it'll tell me, yeah, that looks good. Good job. It will say that. It's just not saying that right now. And that's the relationship. Okay, I like this shape more than when I started. At least you kind of know it's more of an apple so far than before. That's okay. That's a win. This is good. This shape here. No, but that's good. That looks good here. No, it doesn't. Yeah, you need to have an inner critic. Otherwise, just forget it. You don't really need an inner critic for abstract. Actually, that's a lie. You still do. But I remember trying to explain it to somebody close to me, I think, like a family member or something, my mom. Are those her lips? Yes or no? And you have to have that honesty. No, they're not. They look good. They're interesting. I like it, but they're not her lips. You have to be able to have that discernment, that judgment call when painting figurative. Are those her lips or not? If they're not, then you got to keep going. That's it. Now that's a certain mindset that doesn't really apply to this painting, but it actually does. For me, it's just I switch over the question, is this good or not? Is this good or not? And then people can get kind of bogged down in that, and I think that can be discouraging. But if you're willing to work through it, it's not. It's just part of the game. It's how you get better. Because I don't sit around with like people behind me watching going, oh, that's not good. This is like the whole time. No, it's up to me to decide. So I need a strong like judge on the other end watching and guiding it. Because I think it's not about one painting in particular. It's about, that's how I build my skills, by being really critical. And I think some people can get too critical where they don't want to do it. Well, then I just think maybe it comes out you don't like painting. Because if you like painting, it will trump the fact that it's not a good painting. And you'll want to do it again and get better. But you have to be able to say, it's not good. And then what gets really weird is like earlier in this piece, someone said, oh, I love this style. And, I'm not feeling it at all. So then it's like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe this is good. Maybe I don't have to, like, it can get confusing. Just work through all of that. Work through it all. But I've learned to really, I guess my takeaway is I've really learned to appreciate my inner criticism and my aggressive way that I work with myself. Because it doesn't really let me down. Even if it's discouraging or it's a challenge, or I count on my criticism to guide me and make me better. And then the last thing I'll just say about that is, like, if you have a critic that's inside you that you can never win over, that might be a different kind of problem. I don't have that. My inner critic can be pleased. It's hard, but it can happen. So in that regard, I feel pretty lucky, because there is always like some little victories with my critic. So it's not all for nothing. Is there any? Yeah, I live in the 666 p.m. There's the XYZ rule. I gotta look into that. I've never heard that. And 666 p.m. Yeah, I really, as I get older, the more important other artists and art history and even contemporary artists, how important they are to me. And we just went to the MOCA in Bangkok, which is the Modern Art Museum there. And I love seeing like masterful works and paintings that just are, I'm a sucker for really strong imagery. So if it's, I wouldn't say just shocking, that's not quite, I'm not that cheap, but I do like really strong imagery. And especially as I get older, so when there's something that's just striking, so not shocking, but striking, with how I would qualify strong imagery, and then it's executed at such a high level, I really get inspired by that, and I'm mesmerized by it, and I see it, all the time through social media now. So I follow a bunch of artists, and there's a bunch of artists that have, again, contemporary artists that are always inspirational. And you'll see it, like if you follow me on Instagram, I share in my stories other artists that I really just think they've created a great piece. I like to share it. And but to start listing out artists like I don't think I'm ever saying his name right, but Jonas Burgett. I don't know much about him. I have looked into him though, so I'm not completely ignorant, but it escapes me at the moment. Jonas Burgett was showing with Gerard Richter. So Gerard Richter is a giant abstract painter, and he's like, he was or is, like, he sold the most art out of any living artist, I think, ever. So normally the amount of art that is sold at his level, the artist has died, but he's still alive. And Gerard Richter paints massive, is known for his massive, and I mean massive, abstract paintings, which is fun to see. But Jonas Burgett is a figurative painter, surreal kind of, also massive. And he comes to mind right now, because over the years I forget about him, and then I'm like, oh right, oh my God, Jonas, what a master! Like, I really love his work, because he just has a certain style that's so tight. He doesn't really divert from that much, to my knowledge. And then everyone's contemporary hero these days is Van Minnen. And that guy was my North Star for years. I've been following him for years, and he's always a great, if you need some inspiration, I'd say always go look at Christian Rex Van the Third Minnen's work. He's always like, I think maybe he might be, he's definitely one of the top 10, I think, greatest living painters today. Top 10. Because there's some fantastic painters. And then I really, though, my concepts are the most important thing to my work. So I judge other artists, not harshly, but I judge other artists on what they're painting. and how well they're painting it. So it's not just how well they're painting it, which is obviously important, but you need to have that combination. And so you're going to win me over with very thought-provoking, striking, strong imagery over just a really well-executed painting of a young girl in a pond. And then you have like a lot of those, there's a lot of Asian or Chinese artists that are just machines, and I don't mean that in a bad way. And some of their art leaks over into our zeitgeist, the Western world, where you see some of these Chinese painters that have just masterful hands that are almost I think the word's uncomparable. Like there's no comparison. They're just so much. They're beyond even like photograph. It's just incredible to see. But again, I take just as good as your painting skills are. My question is, what are you painting? And that's kind of the conceptual element of art. What are you painting? Wow, that's really great. In fact, it might be the best ever. But what are you painting and why? And so that plays a big, because that's where I get inspired. So there's hundreds of artists that inspire me regularly, the ones that I follow and admire. And I do like lowbrow work too, because again, they really lean heavy into the concept. Not even if the concept's good or not, but they're just really concept based when you have lowbrow work, and that's fun. Because I always find myself to be somewhere in the middle. I try to paint certain things with a high level, and then I also give up. And so I just learned how to work with that. That's just who I am. I don't want to spend four weeks on painting. I just can't anyway. Even if you gave me like some astronomical amount of money, it would be so tough for me. Yes, I would do it. I'm not incapable. I've spent weeks on pieces before, especially earlier, like in the past. It's just not what I don't enjoy that though. Yeah, Richter. Yeah, I've heard that. I heard that about Eric Clapton buying his paintings, actually. That's right. The Richter documentary, that's where like I found that to be really a slow burn, but very interesting. It's kind of where all my knowledge comes from on Richter. And I don't think I've ever seen a Richter in person, and I don't think I've ever seen a Berget painting in person. Or not consciously. I might have seen when I was young or something, but I don't remember. But I always like doing like art battles in my head. Like if you put up like a bank, remember all the Banksy exhibits would bring out all the celebrities back in the day. And he's just like a stencil guy, but he just leans so hard into his concepts. His concepts, I think most would say, are on the same level of talent as somebody who can paint like a photograph. And I would debate, that would be my stand. His concepts are as good as a hyper-realistic painter from, just in general, a hyper-realistic painter. But he's just, however his method is, let's imagine he prints it out and cuts it out and pastes it. But the outcome is as profound as someone who spent 2 years on a painting or 6 months. And then there's a lot more in that, but that's just kind of the first, like, then you have the risk factor for someone like him, and where you don't have a lot of risk if you're just painting in your room like I am and then posting about it. Sometimes I get myself, I've lost my, about 5 years ago, I lost everything. Facebook totally cut me off. I can't remember why. Oh, I was painting like wieners and stuff, and they just deleted my shit, and there was no way for me to get it back. And that was like after 10 years of having that social media account. So there's risks sometimes for my concepts, but it's not the same level or anything. But again, if I will have hardly ever any risk if I'm just painting a young girl in a pond with some ducks at a really high level. There's no risk there, right? You will never ruffle any feathers for the most part. But I just find that lower on the totem pole, on the scale with concept. And I think the best example I gave you is like high level concept, really low execution is a guy like Banksy. And then you even find like the digital artists in there too. Some of them have an incredible, like the Beeple has some really great concepts. And my understanding is that some of those he can whip together in 20 minutes. So when I think like I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of in the middle somewhere. I really value my concepts, and I try to execute them as best as I can, and sometimes that requires a lot of energy and time. But then there's some pieces I have that I'm whipping together in a day or 2 days or I watched that documentary on the performance artist, Maria something. I watched that recently, and that was really cool. I really liked it a lot. If I remember, I'll put but she's the performance artist. She's older now. She had a hell of a run. And I think I liked it because I'm always been, I think like a lot of people, pretty close-minded to conceptual art. When you see the people beating the butter or licking the wallpaper or screaming into a paintbrush, it just comes across as so ridiculous. And so it's really hard to defend it. However, I felt like, let me see. I won't be able to say her name though. Maria, performance artist. Okay, Marina, sorry, Abramovic. Marina Abramovic. Anyways, I'm glad I found her that easy. Yes, I think she's really well known. So some of you will know her, but she's top tier when it comes to performance art. Like there's her concepts have a really good foundation and they're really justifiable for the most part. Some of you will strongly disagree perhaps, but I really liked it. I was surprised how much I liked it. I thought it was touching and it was a good doc, good breakdown. Oh, who did that? I don't think it was Blind Dweller. It was somebody else. I'm not sure though. It could have been Blind Dweller. But I kind of think no, it wasn't. Anyways, it's out there. There's some good docs on her that I saw. But when you talk about inspiration, I was definitely inspired by what she was doing. I feel like it's a totally different lane, totally different world from where I am, but I still got inspired by it. And I thought it was really moving when she saw her lover again later on, years later. I thought that was touching and powerful. But again, I bring that up because, yeah, like when you show me someone slapping butter with their wiener and calling it art, it's really hard to justify and get behind it. But there are a few performance art. You know who's kind of like a performance artist too? Is like David Blaine. You know, he's got it. He has the right narrative, like how he. It's kind of how I see Marina. She's not based on tricks and magic though, but like kind of just like these messages that get people's attention. Bet you she'd be like good in advertising. What's one cool thing? I can't remember the last time I painted like a fruit with this much devotion. Maybe it was just time to paint a fruit. Maybe this whole painting is just about painting fruit. Whoa, 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 whoa. 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 Whoa, 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 whoa. We're making it dirty. So I'm very confused about this painting. I think I've been quiet for the last like 30 minutes because I just had to figure out, like, what am I doing here? What is happening? I kind of like some of it, surprisingly, to me. Because for a while I don't think hating it, but just not in it at all. But you just keep going, especially because I put so much time into it already. You just keep going and see. You can let yourself go off the rails a little bit, which I've done. And I'm just making it dirty because I guess this piece is probably not even going to get finished today. But I'm just putting in some layers that I'll be working with later as it dries. But I'm just making it dirty, making it more essentially nuanced and details that I'm going to take advantage of again later in the piece. And I think what I'm perplexed by is that I just did not set out to paint this over the course of a few days. I thought it would be 1.5. But here we are. So I'm just adding almost things that are kind of confusing or a little bit in a way I'm making more work for myself because something about me likes it. So I'm like, okay, so if I am going to come back to this piece, let's have a really good, let me leave at a really good jumping off point. And by doing that, I mean like adding stuff that just builds character. And that might include making more work for myself or like adding like things that don't quite make sense because they start adding up together to build nuance in the painting and gives it some flavor. One, two, three, maybe. Okay, cool. So part of the journey, the artistic journey, is like there's lots of this piece I really am not attached to, and in other words, I could say I hate it, certain parts. And that kind of gives you a little bit of freedom, right? Like if you don't like it, then what are you worried about? So just go get a little crazy, but it should be proportionate. The amount of crazy you add should be proportionate to at least have some sort of direction. Like I'm not like scraping it. I'm not sanding it down, or I'm not, even necessarily adding more imagery. But I'm not happy with like her dress. her skin. This guy's interesting. I think there's something here that that's worth exploring. This knife is whatever. I'm not like, whoa, wow, good job, man. This is amazing. No, I don't feel like that right now. So what's the benefit of that? Well, the benefit of hating it, liking it, hating it and liking it at the same time is I can really play around now. Okay, so I've been working at this for a number of different sessions. Now what are we going to do? I'm starting to actually like that. She looks ghoulish and interesting. That's good. Her legs are weird. Her dress is stupid. I kind of like, maybe she needs like a hunchback, or like really lean into the fact that her dress is just silly. Her leg is silly. This is not good. This is not a good depiction of an old vintage prosthetic limb. So have fun with it. Like, okay, screw it. Like, maybe it's going to be disproportionate, like very low funding for this arm. Makeshift, homemade. Let's change the horn into a different color. He's got like a nub here. It's not even broken, he's just got a nub. All right. This can't be touched because it needs to dry. I think the apple will take another session on it. I'm not as angry at it, so I'm willing to let him stay the way it is now, so that next session, I'll have a good starting point. I feel ambivalent about it, like I'm indifferent towards it. Same with this guy, but I'm starting to really like her. She is starting to become my dream boat. She's starting to mean something to me. Yeah. Back to it then. So let's add some like flavor in that hair. That's called flavor. More flavor, yes sir. Let's add some more flavor over here. What happens when I do this? Her arm doesn't need to be strong there. It needs to be fading away into the shadows. This needs to be fading away into her upper thigh needs to fade away. Let's make it a little thick. I want thick thighs. Give me thick. What's that about? Who cares? Just keep going. Thick, dirty thighs. You can't see her eyes. Stay with that. Stay the course. Can't see her eyes. Let's pull this down. I kind of want like maybe, yeah, just a vintage prosthetic is fine with me. And see, I'm purposefully, this is kind of a in the weeds. I'm purposefully wrecking things because the painting's not finished. So I'm adding details that may or may not make sense, but just give it depth, nuanced, and a story. And you work with it. And as you work over the layers, these layers that don't make sense or quote unquote wreck it, they actually contribute. Like I'm gonna break up the ripple there. That may not really make sense, but we're doing it. And then I just I use it. Because I'm also hoping I see something in these little minor brush strokes that kind of wreck things, that change it ever so slightly. And I think it makes a stronger piece. It makes a stronger painting. And I'm wondering if I should have done this like 2 hours ago. The answer, unfortunately, might be yes, you should have, sir. Like if you're, but it took a while to get warmed up. I'm warmed up. I think for 2 hours today, you witnessed like one of the most boring painting sessions because I just wasn't warmed up. I just had nothing there. But you got to paint anyway, right? Like, so when you're painting every day, like you go through these weird phases, weird stages. But now I got something in the brush. It's there. There's something here. Whoa. I love it. Don't love the painting, but I love what's in my something here. It's almost like you can't make a mistake. I love when you feel like that. I can't make a mistake. And I'm serious about that. Because this painting's not done. It's just beginning. Remember I told you like I'm just doing stuff that's slowly altering it for better or for worse. Doesn't matter. You just keep painting. The apple, I'm a little more reserved. Why? Because it's just an apple and I need to come back to it. And I just want a good jumping off spot. I'm not trying to I'm not going to add a worm into it or a snake wrapping around it. I just want it to be an apple. And giving it a pretentious position, like it means something, being like dead center into the work. Like it means something because it has a knife sticking out of it. There's no meaning. It's just the red room. I think you will. Yeah, I think you will. All right, this is my last thing for this session. Just gonna leave him with a little stronger value. I like the nub. that's it. Those teeth are too ridiculous, so let's calm them down. Also ridiculous. Calm that down. He's got like veneers happening. So we'll just play with that. Just play with it. See what happens. Just play with it. I'm serious, just play with it. You don't like it anyway, so just play with it. No. Whoa, 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 whoa. All right, toodles.